episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Legion on FX. Kevin Feige hints at the X-Men's and Fantastic Four's MCU debut. Before there was even a hint of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the rights to Marvel's big screen characters had been scattered to the wind.
Like a turd in the wind.
In the past, studios like Paramount, Sony, Fox, and Universal had all managed to get their hands on one or more of the superheroes from the House of Ideas, but now all of these superheroes are slowly being collected by Disney like Infinity Stones for their production gauntlet. Or, in the case of Sony and Spider-Man, they've learned the art of the superhero team-up. Of course, one of the biggest returns to the fold was the movie rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises through Disney's acquisition of Fox, which left more than one fan wondering, when and how the hell will we get our X-Men, our Fantastic Four, our Doctor Doom, and our Galactus into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Now, for the most part, Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige has remained pretty mum about the addition of new characters to the MCU. However, with a new Spider-Man flick wall-crawling into theaters next week, Feige has been hitting the old press junket trail, and thanks to the folks at Fandango, he may have finally, maybe, possibly, given us a few hints on how we can expect the former Fox-owned friends and foes to make their MCU debut, so let's break it down. First up, Feige reveals about how nice it was to have everyone back. It's great to finally have what most companies that hold a lot of intellectual property have, and it's access to all those characters, adding, they're back in the sandbox, in the toy chest, and now as ideas come up and as opportunities come up, we can utilize them, which feels real nice. We, for one, are shocked, I say, that Feige is glad for the chance to have these A-list characters back on the roster. Who needs the X-Men when you have teams like the Great Lakes Avengers in your back pocket? In all seriousness, Marvel Studios has done a great job working within the limitations of characters they could and couldn't use. If you had told a comic book fan 20 years ago that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be one of the world's most popular superhero teams, you would have been laughed right out of your comic book shop. So it'll be great to see what Feige and company can do with fan favorites like Doctor Doom, Wolverine, and the Fantastic Four. So what are their plans? How do they decide what to do with each character? Luckily, Feige gave a glimpse into the process. It's still the early days, but it's been a fun exercise. Every development meeting starts with cool ideas and fun ideas, and our wheels are always turning in terms of what if, to use a Marvel publishing term. We got it. What if we did this? What if we did that? What if we had access to such and such characters? That's how Spider-Man Homecoming came together in the first place, and it's fun to now be in this position with the Fox characters too, because if we come up with a great what if, we can actually do it. While it is encouraging to know that they have cool ideas and fun ideas, if Marvel is truly at the beginning stages of planning stories, it seems for now that it might be a while before we see the return of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. But what if there is something else up Feige's sleeve? We'll get to that in a second. But for now, once Marvel does have a plan, how will these characters be introduced? Will we see a bunch of new solo films like we got with Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America? Or could these characters be trickled in through sequels of established characters like how Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2, or how Spider-Man and Black Panther got their first screen time in Captain America Civil War? Well, Feige has some insight for us. You know, oftentimes, it just comes down to a specific character in a specific story and a specific way to introduce them. So sometimes, like with Spider-Man and Black Panther, that made sense. Then other times with characters like Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Thor, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, it's fun to introduce them in their own movies first. So it just depends on the story we're trying to tell. And while this may sound like a bit of a dodge because it is, it does mean that Marvel and Disney aren't necessarily committed to giving us a ton of origin stories. Maybe Reed Richards and company could meet that other arrogant New York City resident with salt and pepper hair, Doctor Strange, in an upcoming sequel. Or maybe Peter Parker could get an internship for Reed, or perhaps get an acceptance letter from Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Now back to that earlier, what if? What if Feige does have something else up his sleeve? When asked as to when we might be seeing some of these announcements or reveals, Feige deferred to the Marvel panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Well, there'll be a lot to talk about if we're there, I'll tell you that. If you're there. Nice try, Feige. We all know you're going to be in Hall H.
There's a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
Now, of course, this is probably nothing more than a tease, but he knows damn well it's just the sort of tease to get us hooked and waiting with bated breath for San Diego Comic-Con in July. And if you happen to be watching this video for some reason, Feige, we have 3 words for you. Fantastic Phase 4. Shit literally markets itself. But what do you folks think? When do you think we could see Fox's Marvel characters enter the MCU? Which ones deserve solo films and which ones can be introduced in sequels? And now that Avengers Tower is up for sale, will it become the Baxter Building or the Oscorp Building? Let's discuss. Thanks again to today's sponsor, Legion, which premieres tonight at 10 p.m. on FX. Based on the Marvel Comics, the mind-bending series follows Professor Xavier's son, David Haller, as he discovers that he might be the most powerful mutant the world has ever seen. In this final chapter, David must recruit another mutant named Switch, whose time-traveling ability is essential to David's plan to save himself. Catch the beginning of the end when Legion returns tonight at 10 p.m. on FX.